It certainly has been a while since I have been in the front. As of current, I and the rest of the regime are in the process of deprogramming. The unfortunate part of the process is lack of professional, however. While there are a plethora of professionals who specialize in trauma, it is uncertain of the level of education and experience they have. Of those they have, like me, a defector. Nonetheless, deprogramming is told might go smoother and faster than other programmed alters within this system. Today I was given this time to explain the differences between programming, conditioning, and indoctrination, to give everyone a fresh reminder of what programming and conditioning is. Conditioning is the act of accustoming a person or animal to behave in a certain way or to believe in certain circumstances. Programming is a more intense version of conditioning, with the usage of torture to control one's mind, brainwashing them to comply with demands or cues. Anyone and everyone can be conditioned, however. Not everyone is programmed. While conditioning can be performed anywhere by anyone, programming is usually done in secret, either by one person or multiple. Now that I have refreshed your memory about programming and conditioning, I will now speak about indoctrinating and how they are similar and different to programming and conditioning. Before I begin that part of speech, one must first understand what indoctrination is and how the situation works. Indoctrination is the process of inculcating a person or group with ideologies, partisan, sectarian opinion, point of view, or principle, in which is believed without question and critical thinking. Indoctrination can be taught and witnessed within homes, schools, religious sects, cults, workplaces, government facilities, etc. However, the act of indoctrinating a person or group can primarily be found within cults and government. The similarities between programming, conditioning, and indoctrination can be found within having a similar belief and mind control. This similar belief can be religious, a political party, a certain person or group, etc., and brainwashing the individual or group to be consonant with what the cult, organization, individual, government, etc. desire. Now, while programming involves torture, while conditioning does not, indoctrination can involve torture, but not necessarily. Cases where torture is involved with indoctrination could be discovered in cults, underground facilities, and political organizations, where the usage of psychological and physical torture is done to the victims to inculcate the ideologies of the organization, to receive total compliance and obedience or valuable information. However, there are cases where indoctrination becomes a willing factor, without the use of harsh torture, just merely words from a leader and experience of what happened to them due to another party. Such example could be found within wars and cults, where it takes one person to greatly influence the mass and convince the mass to perceive said ideology without question, while in most, if not all cases, programming involves manipulating the mind through torture. As told before, torture methods aren't a necessity to indoctrinate someone. However, it is more than just a simple conditioning. There are possibilities to indoctrinate a person or a party through the usage of their own emotions, and though this gives the fact of the person willingly subjecting themselves To the indoctrinated ideologies, this does not make them any less a victim, as they too have no free will. Another similar factor within programming, conditioning, and indoctrination is the possibility of passing on the teachings to another, be it a stranger, a victim assigned to you, a family member, etc. In some cases, passing on the dogma is done willingly, and in other cases, people will pass on the dogma due to fear. In circumstances where a person or persons no longer believe in the doctrine, the propaganda, but have to pass it on, would they be considered just as malevolent, or still in terms brainwash? No, they are not. If an organization the victim resides in is isolated from the outside, and the knowledge their life would be in jeopardy, for safety, indoctrinating the next generation is what keeps them alive. Now, when it comes to breaking free from the ideologies implanted, it varies between the individual. Some break free due to tragedy or power. Someone outside smuggles information, etc. Although the victim may be free from trusting the indoctrination propaganda, there is still the sensation of trauma, paranoia, and threats of physical harm, much like those who were programmed or conditioned. Indoctrinated people will sometimes either return to the place, continue the ideology, or perhaps find environments in which are closed, as some, if not many, might have grown up in such an environment. Now, unlike those who were programmed, there isn't a cue in which can trigger the victim into total obedience. However, if there was a mix of indoctrination and programming involved, then perhaps a certain cue will be implemented into the victim for such purpose, while indoctrination is embedded within programming and conditioning. The difference between indoctrination and conditioning is indoctrination involves a transmission of beliefs rather than behavior, although a transmission of certain beliefs can be done within conditioning. A response within conditioning someone becomes more frequent or predictable in a given environment as a result of reinforcement. However, the same can be said within those indoctrinated, much like those who either escaped or were let go of organizations. Learning to navigate life no longer indoctrinated, but in an unfortunate paranoid state, can lead to severe delusions of being followed or desire to return. It becomes a challenge to lead your own life and be convinced of the freedom bestowed, even if you no longer believe in the propaganda. Nonetheless, once one starts to break free from what was indoctrinated into them, it becomes a starting process to deprogramming or erasing the conditioning done to them.